Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another exciting talk from the LRVS 22. Today, I will be introducing, someone of great intelligence, someone who I had a great opportunity to speak to right before, getting on this talk. Jorge Alarcon, who is the Global Technical Manager, OCM at Bureau Veritas. He will be sharing information on the effect of geopolitics on the role of oil analysis and gas turbine power generation. So without further ado, Jorge, the floor is yours.
Right. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Really appreciate it. So I think all of us have been aware of a situation that we have been living in the last couple of years, right? So there's no exception, no country that has suffered from COVID to the latest war in Europe. So we are living in a moment of crisis, right? It's a moment that everyone has been suffering from houses to industry companies to there's no segment in the industry market that has problems related with the entire situation. And power generation market was also one of these segments that suffered all these problems, right? So, but for some reason, at the same time, even that we are living in under a crisis, power generation market has been growing up for the last couple of years. It is estimated that since the COVID situation started in 2019, 2020, the power generation market will grow in about 4 to 6 billion in 5 6 years. So it means that the demand for energy, not only for industries but also for households and some other stuff, is rising, right? So there's a rising need to improve gas industry, gas communication. There's a high demand for gas power generation technology. And I think we are aware that these days we have been seeing new technologies, new prototypes, new softwares related with this industry. So these opportunities also are increasing through the years. Also, we are seeing a rise in power consumption in developing countries. One of the reasons, and I've been attending to a conference related with people migrating to outside the cities in Europe. It's because they are preferring to have a different type of life, right? They don't want to be part of the city anymore. They see that there's the same opportunities in remote areas, and we notice this because a lot of us have been working from home since this COVID situation has started. So at the same time, we experimented the construction of new small size power generation plant. We're talking about just less than 100 megawatts of power. Rising in power consumption on remote areas of the third developed countries also it's another situation that is pushing this entire change. And of course, because we're talking to analysis, an increasing need for accurate oil analysis program, right? So these are the situations that are changing the world as the way we see it. And what happened around 18 months ago? I've been working with global customers, and I've noticed something that I was unusual from the oil analysis perspective. So basically, I've seen a lot of problems related with these four factors. Four factors that are not only affecting the oil analysis market, of course, but any other. So, for example, the raw material for oil bases, the crude oil price has decreased, has been jumping. So, a lot of countries that produce oil decide to cut the production for some months. We have the price increasing. We have a lot of demand, but not enough offer in some months of these past 18 months. So besides that, we had a problem with the raw material for additives, right? So the production for raw material for additives are concentrated in just few countries. Some South American countries, China, North America, no more than that, a couple of in ex Soviet Union countries. So the same thing happened, right? These industries were affected not only by COVID, but were affected by all the problems that we have been facing through this time, and they reduced the production. So we have a reduction on the oil basis. We have a reduction on the additive production, and we had a problem on the logistic side of the thing too. So prices were increasing. The reason why prices were increasing from the logistic point of view is because a lot of the main ports in the world has been closed, have been shut down for a couple of weeks, couple of months in some cases, and that create a nightmare not only for the end user of oil, but for almost for everyone. We have seen no news with the ships are waiting outside the ports and no one is taking care of them. Besides all these three things, we have another issue that, but is not look. It doesn't look very important, but it's critical for our area. So, depending on the source, China controls around between 20 to 30% of the drum production, even it's a final product or the raw material for that. So we basically depend on China for drums, and we need drums to put the oil on it, right? So a reduction on the offer of the drum production also affected this entire situation. So for the end user, so this is the global perspective. This is the world that we are living right now, and for the end user, what is happening, right? What is happening? So in some cases, and in many cases, unfortunately, the end user needs to add a different type of oil. And in this many cases, the problem is that it's not the oil is probably compatible with the one that it's in service, but they didn't have time to run a miscibility analysis, a compatibility analysis, or any type of analysis that allows them to use this second oil in the turbine that they have the previous in service. Same thing happening with greases. I've been seeing so much problems with greases because compatibility, and I'm talking about just a thickener compatibility. I'm talking about viscosity, oil viscosity problems, because a lot of people just using the same grease, they think the thickener is the only main thing to compare to greases, and they forget completely about the oil viscosity on it. A lot of people is just sweetening the oil, not changing the oil, because they have to wait for about 4 to 6 months to get a couple of hundreds of liters of that specific oil. And this is happening in a lot of countries, especially in third world countries, developed countries. The time to wait for some type of oils, even in Europe, in the States, has been extended. In this case, no more than it was before, but a couple of days at least, some weeks in some cases. So the end user is extending the oil changes with the risk of having problems not only with the oil but with the units, right? I've been seeing increasing on temperatures. Temperatures are really close to the shutdown the turbine, and this is happening because in some many cases the oil has been already degraded. It contains a lot of sludge or varnishes or some type of problem. At the same time, a lot of people extended filter the oils instead of changing it. For some reason, I've seen this practice, and we can of course expect to have a cleaner oil, but the dead oil and the degraded oil and the breakdown chain, hydrocarbon chain, will remain in that oil. It will not be filtered. So this is not a solution. Just a misunderstanding of that situation. So let's talk about the impact on mixture lubricants, because I cannot talk about all on every single situation that I mentioned before. But due to the shortage of the products, as I said before, many users have been forced to mix not only one but a couple of, at least two, three different oils in a turbine. So probably those oils are compatible when they're fresh and when they are new. But the problem is when you mix an oil that is not compatible with the byproducts contained in the reservoir from the previous oil, and that is a problem. That is one of the biggest problems that we are facing right now. Let's take a look at this example. This is a case study that I've been working on for a couple of months, and as you can see, this is the FTIR spectra. The FTIR is a wonderful, wonderful tool that for some reason not many labs use it in the correct way, and not many end users are aware of these beautiful technique. So what we have here is in in less than 9 months, three different type of lubricants were in the system. We have four samples here. Two of them are the same type of oil. The other oils are different, right? So what can we expect if we have this type of, let's not say contamination yet. So let's say it's just a mixture of oils. So it will create a chemical reaction, and it will create a chemical reaction because not only because of the mixture, but we have temperature, we have a lot of movement, we have these fluids flowing in the system. So it's the perfect scenario to create chemical reactions on that. So based on an analysis that I have been running on about 1,000 samples since all these COVID situation has started. This is what I found through this time. So around 29% of these samples that I've been studied are showing additive depletion. And of course, I'm talking about an additive depletion that happened before the expected time for additives to be depleted in the oil. A lot of sludge and varnish formation, around 70%, and we are talking about less than a year. So in less than a year, a lot of varnish problems, a lot of sludge problems, and mainly increasing the temperature on the oil in the system. The thing goes worse, right? So there's a lot of precursors of acid products in the oil. Talking about, for example, lactones in this case. So if we go back to that FTIR graph that I've been showing before, the FTIR can identify this type of products in advance. So before it turns out into acid, and that will increase the acid concentration in the oil, and that will generate varnishes. We can see in advance when those products are here present in the oil. So again, not a lot of people are aware of how powerful is the FTIR. So almost I won't say 50%, but around 50% of the samples that I have been studying are showing this type of problems, acid concentrations. And something that happened with the previous example that I showed before, the loss of the anti-film characteristics in the oil. So I'm not talking about the silicon additive. That's pretty simple to understand, but I'm talking about the anti-film characteristics of the base oil. Like in this case, the initial oil lost completely its anti-film characteristic because of this mixture, because of the presence of two different type of oils that were not should be there in the system. And of course, a loss of traceability. We cannot apply the same limits if we have these type of mixtures in the system. So this is very critical. And the end user start asking, the end user have been asking this question for many years around, right? So, but this time is really important they are trying to understand what's happening with the oil, and they have three priorities among some others. So the first time is they are trying to do an oil change based on time, trying to change it to change the oil based on the condition. So no more time condition oil change, but based on the condition. What is the remaining life of my oil? That is the key question that a lot of people is asking right now because of these situations. All right, so I have a mixture. I have a chemical problem. I have something that I don't know what it is. So, all right, so when do I have to change the oil? That is the question right now. And the second question tied to this one is, can I extend the life of this oil? Can I use a couple of years, couple of months, a couple of days more, even if I experience in this type of problems? So that is very important these days, and these are the problems that the end user is fighting these days. So an accurate oil condition monitoring program is becoming more and more critical and important. So if we take a look at the oil condition program, we at some point should see it as an investment, right? So we will invest a lot probably in the initial part of the curve, and then we'll put away some tests that are necessary, and the cost will drop a little bit. So we need to see that the condition monitoring program as an investment. Initially, it will be higher, and then it will be a little bit lower. I have this case study in a turbine. So what's happening here? As you can see here, we have an oil brand A here in April. And it's pretty new fresh oil, 4,500 liters in April, with a very short concentration of phosphorus, just about 18 parts per million of phosphorus. So a couple of months after this oil was in service, the end user couldn't find the same oil. So they need to add 600 liters in July. So for that, they use lubricant B. So lubricant B has a concentration of phosphorus about 97 ppms. So after that, again, they need to add just a couple of liters, 12 liters in this case, and concentration of phosphorus decreasing to 64. After a couple of months, again, the same situation happened, and user couldn't find lubricant brand E. The price of lubricant B was extremely expensive, so they looked for a cheaper solution. So they found that lubricant C was pretty much the same characteristics of lubricant A. So they mix another lubricant again. 102 ppms of phosphorus and only 410 liters, no more than that. So the situation continues and go on. So let's take a look at the same analysis, but from the particle count perspective. In dark green, what we have here is the ISO cleanliness code, that it's jumping from 14 to 19, 5 digits, 5 ISO codes. If we take a look at the same scenario, but not only from the ISO cleanliness code, we will find that the particles larger than 4 microns will increase in 37 times. That's a lot, right? That's a lot, and this is not solid contamination. A lot of people think that an increasing on the particle count is just solid contamination, so filter that oil. So it's not the case. In this case, this increasing was due to the hydrocarbon chain breakdown. So it means that the large change of the oil, the mixed oil, start breaking, and this was due to the chemical reaction that is this entire mix has been suffering. So again, let's take a look at the same perspective, but now we'll see the acid number and the varnish concentration. So we can see how the acid number started increasing from 0.03 to 0.12, right? So we had 4 times acid increasing in the oil. A proof again that a chemical reaction has been occurring in this oil. Same thing with the varnish potential, right? So we have almost 10 initially because probably we had some byproducts in the system, and we jump in a year to 34 on the varnish concentration MPC. So again, a proof that something is happening from the chemical perspective. Um, let's take a look at the same perspective to the phenol analysis. So phenol is in dark pink here, and we can see how the phenol has been decreasing in a year almost to nothing. 80% of the phenol additives has been lost in a year, right? Again, due to the chemical problem that is the mixture is causing. So the temperature of the oil in the system has been increasing from 59 to 67. So that represents a 14 temperature increase in the system. So it was really close to the critical temperature, and of course, a loss on the heat transfer and dissipation of the entire the fluid. So I'm not going to tell what happened with this unit, but it's very important to understand the situation that we have been living in the last months, and try to apply and try to understand that into a more accurate oil condition monitoring program. So the first thing is my first recommendation is try to run a compatibility test. Not only with the fresh oil, that's easy. That's a lot of labs, they already have this type of analysis, a compatibility analysis between oil A and oil B. The problem is we don't have the same type of analysis with oil B and the in-service oil, and especially with the byproducts of the in-service oil, things that are at the bottom of the deposit, things that are on the coldest part of the system, things that nobody wants to touch. So we're waiting to see what happened with that. So run a compatibility analysis with these two different type of oils that are in the system. Try to understand what are those degradation byproducts in the system. It's very simple trying to say that those are acids. Yes, but what type of acids? And what are those acids? Or they are precursors of acids like lactones, esters, alcohols. What type of precursors, and what will be the effect on those byproducts if we mix it with a new oil? Of course, a new oil will suffer all the problems from degraded byproducts. And take a look at your review your oil condition monitor program. I'm pretty sure it is good. The frequency probably is good also, but try to find the accuracy of the program. So lubricant analysis it's just a tool, right? Like any other. It provides a lot of value, but that will depend on the scope of the oil condition monitor program, and that includes also a precise frequency to that. So I've been seeing all these problems not only in third developing countries, but also in main countries I've seen a lot of problems. I've seen a lot of not problems only with the oil, but at some point you can change the oil, right? Or you can filter the oil. But I've seen problems related with the components. So that is a huge problem. When we are talking about that you have to replace or shut down a unit that needs to be running 24/7, and you have to shut down that unit because something happened that you don't know and it's related with the oil, that is a problem. So try to avoid that and understand what the situation that we are living in right now. That is my that is my perspective for the situation that we have to live in, and I encourage you to review your oil analysis program. It is probably a good time to do it.
Oh, that was a great presentation. Thank you for that. It definitely reminded me of a few things that I said in my speech earlier today, and I definitely need to connect with you to have a conversation outside of this. But we do have a question coming from Greg Livingstone, and he writes, "Do you see the loss of anti-foam properties as a symptom of foam inhibitor depletion or as a result of foreign contamination?"
Greg, thank you for your question. So I think I cannot say it's one or the other. What I've been seeing, for example, in some countries, it's the oils that are in totes of 1,000 liters. Those plastic totes are not properly stored. Probably they're outside, not covered. So one of the main problems for these type of containers is the UV light, right? So I have cases where the oil has lost completely. A lot of the anti-foam characteristic of the oil has been lost before the oil goes into the system, much before. So it is a problem of storage. Of todas, right? So the anti-foam problem is a symptom of a couple of cases, a couple of situations. Initially, how do you store this the oil? And secondly, what are you mixing with the new oil, right? So I'm not sure if the this anti-foam characteristic of the oil is being affected by any specific type of byproduct, but I'm pretty sure that is affected. I would say lactones and alcohols are the main ones, but this is just my perspective because I've seen the cases that I have been working with are contains these type of chemical components, right? So maybe there's some others, maybe not.
Okay, thank you for that response. Okay, we're going to wait to do any more questions. Oh, thank you, Jorge. Okay, okay.
Thank you, Monica.
That's
Thank you,
good. That's
Sandhya.
good. And I'll put up a few more comments of what was shown throughout the presentation.
Greg, you're so kind. Thank you.
All right, so I think at that point, thank you for taking the time out of your day to give us that very intellectual talk. And
My pleasure.
thank you, and the rest of you, hope you enjoy LRVS 22, and see you at the next session.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.